I transmigrated into the body of the real wealthy daughter who was switched at birth. As a top-notch green tea girl, I rubbed my hands excitedly. On the first day I returned home, the fake wealthy daughter opened her mouth with a look of disdain. "Don't dirty the floor of the house." I looked as if I was about to cry, biting my lips. "I'm sorry, I only have this pair of shoes." My adoptive parents looked sympathetic and gave me a black card, bought me new clothes. And holding me who could only whimper, they kept calling, "Good daughter." I transmigrated into a novel about the real and fake wealthy daughters named Wrong Love. The novel tells the story of the fake wealthy daughter, Susan, who was wrongly taken in by the wealthy Smith family since childhood and was doted on. Susan has been doted on in every way since she was a child and was carefully cultivated by the Smith family for 18 years. While the real wealthy daughter, Linda, was thrown into an orphanage by her adoptive parents since she was a child and had never received a single day of love from her parents, and I, a top-level green tea girl, transmigrated into the body of the real wealthy daughter, Linda. As soon as I transmigrated, I was faced with the situation of returning to the Smith family to recognize my relatives, which was like a sure field. This luck is really good. The driver dropped me off at the gate of the Smith family's villa. Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, and the original owner's elder brother, Sam, were standing at the gate to welcome me. I took a careful look at them from the car. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith seemed quite kind. Sam was tall with long legs and had a handsome face. Looking closely, his facial features were somewhat similar to mine, and the girl beside Sam had a pretty face, was wearing an expensive dress, and was holding a teacup dog in her hand. She looked like a little princess who was doted on at home, presumably. This was the fake wealthy daughter, Susan. After the car stopped steadily, I stroked my hair and got out of the car unhurriedly. The first impression is very important. Who doesn't like a beautiful and polite daughter? Mr. Smith nodded when he saw me. "It's good that you're back. You've suffered a lot these years." Mrs. Smith's eyes were moist, and she hugged me tightly. "Linda, my daughter." This scene was almost the same as I had imagined, when no one was paying attention. I lowered my head and squeezed a few drops of eye drops. When I raised my head again, my little face was full of tears, paired with the school uniform in the academy style that I had specially chosen and my long black straight hair. I looked extremely pitiful. Mrs. Smith took my hand and introduced, "This is your elder brother, Sam, and this is Susan. You should get along well with each other in the future." Mrs. Smith's eyes flickered, and she looked at me with a bit of guilt. I didn't expose her. I sweetly called Sam, brother, and then smiled at Susan. Sam had an unfriendly expression. He held Susan's hand with one hand and looked at me warily. Susan looked down on me with a haughty expression. After looking me up and down, she said, "So you're Linda." Then she smiled disdainfully. "What are you wearing? Don't dirty the floor when you come into the house later." "Susan," Mrs. Smith called out to her disapprovingly. I wasn't angry. I pretended to be ashamed and said, "I'm sorry, I only have this pair of shoes." After saying that, I also pretended to be nervous and lowered my head. Mrs. Smith couldn't hold back and started crying again. "Linda, it's all Mom's fault for losing you. Mom will buy you countless pairs of shoes in the future." My daughter, Mr. Smith, was also moved. He gave Susan a warning look with his eyes. Susan stamped her foot in anger, turned around, and ran into the house. Sam chased after her, in order to compensate me. Mr. and Mrs. Smith gave me a black card and bought me a large number of clothes. This was all within my expectations. I used the guilt of Mr. and Mrs. Smith to achieve my goals. Susan and I were destined not to become friends because of our identities. If Susan didn't provoke me, there might be a possibility for us to coexist peacefully, but it seemed unlikely. Susan really didn't let me down. To welcome me, today's dinner was particularly sumptuous. As soon as I sat down at the dining table, Susan shouted towards the kitchen, "Auntie, don't you know that I'm on a diet? Where's my diet meal? We've made so many dishes today. Who needs a diet meal?" Sam rubbed Susan's head. "I still want to eat it. Auntie specially made your favorite crab casserole for you." Mrs. Smith also said in a loving tone to persuade her, "Mom, I don't have much of an appetite. I still want to eat my diet meal," Susan said coquettishly. Mrs. Smith shook her head helplessly, which was regarded as acquiescence. Susan looked at me triumphantly. I thought it was funny in my heart. Did Susan want to deliberately provoke me? I wasn't affected by her and just focused on eating my own meal. Seeing that I didn't react, Susan was still not satisfied. "Linda, you should eat more. After all, you've never eaten such food before, right?" Before anyone else could speak, I was taken aback for a moment, put down my chopsticks. "Yeah, in the orphanage, we rarely even got to eat meat." Before Susan could put away her smile, I continued, "I'm quite lucky to have found my parents. The other children in the orphanage can't even get enough to eat." After saying that, my eyes turned red, and I looked downcast. When Mrs. Smith heard this, she thought of my experience and quickly stood up to put a lot of food on my plate. "Linda, eat more. You're such a kind-hearted child." After saying that, she looked at Mr. Smith again. "Our Smith family should also do some good deeds." Mr. Smith also nodded in agreement. "Let's make a donation to the orphanage in Linda's name. It's also a good thing for the company." I was so excited that my face turned red, and I said, "Thank you, Mom and Dad." Mr. and Mrs. Smith were very satisfied with my performance. Sam looked at me with a complicated expression, while Susan angrily slapped her chopsticks on the table. "I'm full, Susan. You're becoming more and more impolite." Mr. Smith frowned. Susan was obviously very afraid of Mr. Smith. She shrank her neck and didn't say anything more. When no one was paying attention, I smiled provocatively at Susan. Susan was indeed irritated by me. "Linda, what are you pretending for?" I pretended to be startled and looked at the others with a nervous expression. "Susan, if you make trouble again, your pocket money for this month will be deducted completely," Mrs. Smith said unhappily. "Mom, Dad, don't be deceived by her. She's just pretending," watching Susan making a scene. Mr. Smith finally couldn't stand it anymore. "That's enough, confiscate her card." Mrs. Smith looked disappointed and left with Mr. Smith. "Brother, don't you believe me either?" Susan quickly looked at Sam. "When will you change your temper?" Sam said with a look of hating that one is not up to expectations. I was too lazy to watch the affectionate scene between the two siblings. I pretended to go upstairs carefully. After locking the door when I got back to my room, I finally relaxed. Although Mr. and Mrs. Smith seemed to treat me well, I knew that compared with Susan, they still favored Susan. The original real wealthy daughter didn't have a very good ending. After the real wealthy daughter was brought back to the Smith family, no one in the Smith family truly loved her. As a result, after suffering from Susan's bullying, the real wealthy daughter committed suicide due to depression. Who cared about the feelings of the original owner? I didn't think there was anything wrong with my actions. Early the next morning, just as I went out, I happened to run into Sam, who had just finished exercising. Sam took a look at me, came over, and said, "Susan is just spoiled. Don't bother with her." I sneered in my heart. Who was his real sister after all? I showed a well-behaved smile on my face. "I know, brother, she's just in a bad mood. I won't be angry with her." Sam nodded and casually said, "If you encounter any trouble, you can come to me." "Really, brother?" I looked at Sam expectantly. Sam didn't expect that I would take his casual words so seriously. After giving a sound, he quickly left. His back looked a bit like he was running away in a hurry. I smiled and turned to go downstairs. When Susan saw that I had changed into a new outfit, the jealousy in her eyes almost overflowed. I have a fair complexion and delicate facial features. A white high-end customized dress paired with a matching hairband made me look ethereal. Especially my appearance that was very similar to that of the Smith family made Susan even more annoyed. Sure enough, Susan couldn't wait to speak, but this time she was much smarter. She deliberately said loudly to the teacup dog in her hand, "A country bumpkin is just a country bumpkin. Don't think that you can become a phoenix just by changing your appearance." I almost burst out laughing. This trick was too childish. "So this is the name of Susan's dog. It's really unique." I looked at Susan and covered my mouth, giggling. Susan stared at me fiercely. I greeted Mr. and Mrs. Smith as if nothing had happened. When Mrs. Smith saw that I had put on the clothes she had prepared for me, she said with satisfaction, "Linda looks really beautiful in this outfit." I showed a shy smile and sat in my original seat obediently. Susan wasn't really stupid. After calming down, she showed a smile. "Yeah, girls should dress up more to look good. I still have a lot of clothes that I haven't worn much before. I'll give them all to you." After saying that, she winked at Mrs. Smith as if seeking credit. Mrs. Smith was also amused by her. "It's rare for you to have such a kind thought. Give me her unwanted clothes." I rolled my eyes in my heart. Of course it's good, but we'll be in the same school soon. Wouldn't it be inappropriate for me to wear Susan's old clothes? I emphasized the words, old clothes, and said with a hesitant expression, "What old clothes? Our family can afford to buy new clothes." Mr. Smith felt that it wasn't right. The Smith family was a prestigious family. It would be really embarrassing if it got out that they let their daughter wear old clothes. Linda, if you want any clothes, just ask them to be delivered to the house directly. Don't let your classmates look down on you. Thank you, Dad. You're so kind. I thanked him coquettishly, and the happiness in my eyes was obvious. Only then did Mrs. Smith realize how inappropriate her words had been just now, and she quickly changed her words. Right, Mom will transfer you some more pocket money later. You can buy whatever you want. Susan was so angry that she tugged hard at the fur of the teacup dog in her hand. The little dog yelped in pain. Seeing that everyone's eyes were on her, Susan threw the dog aside and ran upstairs with a stomp, stomp, stomp. This child has been spoiled by you and is becoming more and more unreasonable. Mr. Smith frowned and looked at Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith also looked unhappy at Susan's back. I was quickly transferred to the same high school as Susan. The original owner had always had good grades before, but she had only attended an ordinary high school where there were all kinds of people. In order to let me integrate into this circle quickly, the Smith family not only changed my name but also quickly transferred me to the same class as Susan. On the first day I transferred, I felt Susan's little tricks. Susan had been in this class for 2 years, relying on her status as the daughter of the Smith family. She already had her own small group. As soon as the class was over, they couldn't wait to pick on me. They gathered around Susan's desk and deliberately said loudly to me, "Where is this stinky smell coming from? Maybe it's the smell of a country bumpkin." Ha ha ha. Susan had a look of anticipation for the show. The other classmates pretended not to see, but actually secretly paid attention to this place. Is this all? I disdained in my heart. I might as well just play with her. So I looked up at Susan and covered my nose with a slightly disgusted expression. Susan and the others didn't understand what I was doing and looked at each other. After the teacher came in, just before the class started, I took out a bottle of perfume from my bag, walked up to Susan, and placed it on Susan's desk in front of them. I showed a harmless smile and said, "Classmate Susan, this is for you." Before they could react, I continued embarrassedly, "You're welcome. It's what classmates should do for each other." After saying that, I quickly moved aside and returned to my seat. Damn it, it took Susan and the others a long time to react. The girl beside them was full of anger and wanted to stand up and settle the score with me. The teacher on the podium said in a stern tone, "The class is about to start. If anyone doesn't want to attend, get out." The few of them didn't dare to act recklessly anymore and returned to their seats, holding back their anger. Susan gave me a cold look and mouthed to me, "You're done for." I felt secretly pleased. This is more interesting. After school at noon, Susan smiled provocatively at me and left with her school bag on her back first. Fine, she instigated others to do bad things and got herself out of it cleanly. Susan wasn't completely stupid. The other 2 people took me to the girls' restroom. I was very cooperative on the way. "Aren't you afraid of the surveillance cameras nearby?" I asked the person beside me seriously. The chubby girl sneered, "This is a blind spot. Nothing can be captured here." The tall girl blocked the restroom door and crossed her arms. "Linda, you could have provoked anyone, but you had to provoke Susan. This is asking for it." "Then I'm relieved." I slowly rolled up my sleeves. "What are you relieved about?" the tall girl asked. I smiled slightly and suddenly grabbed her hair and gave her 2 slaps quickly. The chubby girl reacted and tried to grab me. I reacted quickly, kicked the chubby girl down, and pushed the tall girl away on the other side. "Ah, Linda, how dare you hit me?" The tall girl pounced on me. I kicked her in the stomach, and she immediately collapsed to the ground. The chubby girl came over to grab me again. I blocked her arm and choked her neck from behind. The chubby girl was so scared that she couldn't speak clearly. Cough. "Let me go. I was wrong." After letting her go, I looked at the 2 of them lying on the ground, clapped my hands, and said, "That's more like it. Aren't you afraid that we'll tell the teacher?" the chubby girl asked while gasping for breath. "I'm so scared." Ha ha ha. I shrank my neck and laughed out loud. "There's no surveillance camera here. Do you think the teacher will believe that a well-behaved girl who just transferred here like me hit the 2 of you? Or that the 2 of you bullied me on campus because you didn't like me?" Looking at me smiling and saying these words without changing my expression, the chubby girl swallowed her saliva and showed a look of fear. "She's crazy. She's just a crazy person." I felt a bit bored. I didn't want to delay my dinner time, so I picked up my school bag and turned to leave. As soon as I came out of the girls' restroom, I met a boy in the corridor. I was taken aback for a moment, thinking I had seen someone walking out of a comic book. The boy had very fair skin, extremely delicate facial features, and a noticeable small mole at the corner of his eye. Paired with the boy's casual expression at the moment, he exuded a strong sense of coldness. Seeing that the school uniform looked particularly handsome on him, I couldn't help but think in my heart, how could someone be so good-looking? I realized that it wasn't polite to stare at him like this, so I quickly averted my eyes. The boy, however, gave a meaningful look in the direction of the girls' restroom, then took a look at me and left. What did that mean? Did he hear what happened? After arriving home and entering the door, Susan and Sam were playing and fooling around, and Mrs. Smith was looking at them with a beaming smile. What a warm scene. If the original owner had seen this, what kind of mood would she have been in? When Mrs. Smith saw me standing at the door, she came over awkwardly. Linda, you're back. Are you getting used to school? I forced a smile. I'm getting used to everything, Mom. After saying that, I didn't even look at Mrs. Smith's reaction and went straight upstairs. Mrs. Smith wanted to call me back, but she didn't know how to start. Sam, on the other hand, looked at my back thoughtfully. When Susan saw that I had returned unharmed, she couldn't help but chase after me and shout, Linda, stop. I turned around and looked at her. How did you come back? You mean, you want to ask why I'm okay, right? Susan didn't say anything and waited for me to speak, which was a kind of tacit admission. You should go back and take good care of your two lackeys. After all, I didn't learn much else in the orphanage, but I was the best at fighting. After I finished speaking gently, I even winked at Susan. Linda, let's see who has the last laugh, Susan said to my back. I waved my hand and left handsomely. I performed quite well. I gave myself a thumbs up in my heart. During dinner, Mrs. Smith kept serving me food attentively, but I didn't seem interested. Sam also noticed this and pretended to ask casually, Ahem, is there anyone bullying you at school? When Susan heard this, she suddenly looked up at me. I watched Susan's nervousness with great interest. After a few seconds, I replied, no, everyone is very friendly. Susan secretly let out a sigh of relief, and I thought it was extremely funny. I stopped talking, and Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith were secretly guessing as they looked at my listless expression. This was all part of my plan. Only the crying child gets the candy. Who would care if I always pretended to be sensible? When I went to school the next day, the two girls avoided me from a distance when they saw me. After Susan learned about what happened yesterday, she walked up to me and said, Linda, you're really good at pretending. Looking at the gossipy eyes of the surrounding classmates, I bit my lips. Susan, I don't know what made you angry. If there's anything I did wrong, please forgive me, okay? My voice was rather sweet, and at this moment, I deliberately put on an obedient look, making it hard for people to blame me. And Susan had always been arrogant and spoiled because of her family background, and she had a really bad temper at school. Naturally, everyone tended to side with me. Susan felt the faint gazes of the surrounding classmates and shouted angrily, What are you looking at, Susan? This is the classroom, not your home. The monitor not far away warned her. Exactly. What are you shouting for? Others also murmured in dissatisfaction in a low voice. Susan was so angry that she picked up her school bag and ran out of the classroom. I secretly gave a yes gesture in my heart. Before I could be happy for too long, I saw the boy I had seen in the corridor yesterday walking into the class with his school bag slung over one shoulder. Joey, I thought you weren't coming today, a boy in the back row complained. The boy named Joey naturally sat in the last row. Joey, are you going to the basketball game with No. 3 middle school today? We'll see, Joey replied perfunctorily. Come on, bro, you're my real bro. Listening to the conversation of the boys in the back row, I learned that he was Joey, the living sign of our school. Joey was not only handsome, but also from a wealthy family, and his grades had always been ranked first in the joint exams. Joey felt my gaze and glanced in my direction. I quickly withdrew my gaze. He shouldn't tell others what happened in the girls' restroom yesterday, right? Even if he did, would never admit it. These days, I've been acting indifferent at home. Seeing Mrs. Smith's excessive concern and Sam's faint glances, I thought it was time. During dinner in the evening, I didn't go downstairs for a long time. Mrs. Smith went upstairs to call me and found that I had a fever and passed out. Sam helped call the family doctor. After taking the medicine, I still didn't wake up. Mrs. Smith looked self-reproachful. I've seen that Linda seems to have something on her mind these days. I'm really an incompetent mother." Hearing my mother's words, Sam also started frowning and thinking if he had been too negligent towards me. "Mom, don't leave me." Linda is very obedient. I suddenly started talking nonsense in my coma. Linda, Dad, Mom, and brother, if there's anything I did wrong, please don't abandon Linda. I don't want to go back to the orphanage. My mother and Sam listened to my words with mixed feelings, until tears streamed down from my closed eyes. Wordless sadness filled the room and infected the two of them. Mrs. Smith couldn't help hugging me and crying out, "Linda, my daughter, you're the baby that I carried in my womb for 10 months. It's Mom who didn't do well. Please wake up soon." Sam looked at my face that was similar to his and was also deeply moved. It's a pity that the original owner could never hear these words again. I had a good sleep. I didn't wake up until noon the next day. After waking up, I found that Mrs. Smith and Sam's attitude towards me had changed a lot. Although they had been nice to me before, it was just a superficial and plastic family affection, but in the following days, Mrs. Smith put me first, asking about my well-being all day long, wishing she could make up for the past 18 years, and Sam also started to care about me in an awkward way. When he saw the food I liked, he would pass it to me. When he went out, he would also prepare a small gift for me separately. Seeing all this, Susan's hatred for me grew stronger and stronger. A few days later, when I got home from school, I saw Susan sitting in the living room with a happy expression. Mr. and Mrs. Smith also looked proud. "Linda, I'm going to participate in the provincial piano competition. Do you want to come with me?" "Oh, right, I forgot. You've never seen a piano before. How could you participate in the competition?" Susan looked at me with a mocking expression. Susan had been carefully cultivated by the Smith family since she was a child and played the piano well. I wasn't surprised at all. "Yeah, I'm not like you. You've been able to learn so many things since you were a child," I said with a disappointed look. When Mrs. Smith heard me say this, she looked at me with a pained expression. "Linda, it's all Mom's fault for losing you. You can learn whatever you want, and Mom and Dad will hire the best teachers for you." "Really, anything is okay," I said with a hesitant look. "As long as you say it, anything is okay," Mrs. Smith promised repeatedly. This was exactly the sentence I was waiting for. I looked at Mr. Smith expectantly. "Dad, I want to join the company and learn management from you. Can you teach me?" Mr. Smith was a bit surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect that I would be interested in managing the company, but he still agreed. "Of course, but it's very boring to learn, and you can't let it affect your studies. Can you persevere?" I quickly nodded happily. "I will definitely persevere." Because of my interruption, everyone ignored the fact that Susan was going to participate in the piano competition. Susan's face darkened, and she stared at me with an unfriendly expression. I showed her a victorious smile. Since that day, I started following Mr. Smith to the company to learn, but I didn't neglect my school courses either. The original owner had good grades, and I was also a top student before I transmigrated. This high school knowledge was simply a piece of cake for me. Soon, my grades soared to the second place in the whole school, and the first place was Joey. The teachers and classmates in the school liked me more and more, and my influence even showed signs of being on a par with Joey's, while Susan's originally average grades kept declining. The day before the piano competition, Susan blocked me at the door of my room. "Linda, guess who Mom, Dad, and brother care about more?" Until now, Susan still insisted on calling me Linda. Instead of treating me as a real family member, I didn't answer. Seeing her malicious smile, I just thought she was going to cause trouble again. "You said, what would they think if they knew that you made me fall down the stairs and hurt my hand out of jealousy?" Before I could answer, Susan fell backward, but unfortunately, I casually grabbed Susan, and we both rolled down the stairs together. Sam rushed over immediately. "What's going on?" Before Susan could speak, I shouted in pain, "Brother, it hurts, it really hurts." I covered my foot and looked in pain. "It's just about pretending. This is what I'm best at." Susan was stunned by my actions. She rolled down by herself. "I'm also hurt, brother." After Mrs. Smith rushed over, she was so scared that she quickly sent us to the hospital. Susan tried to speak several times, but her words were drowned out by my cries of pain, until in the car, I pretended to explain casually. Susan was standing by the stairs. I thought she was about to fall accidentally, so I grabbed her. Unexpectedly, I was pulled down instead. "Mom, brother, Susan didn't do it on purpose." "You're talking nonsense." I won't let you talk nonsense anymore. Susan pretended to get up and hit me. I quickly shrank into Sam's arms in fear. Sam protected me. Susan, that's enough. Susan became quiet. After we arrived at the hospital, neither Susan nor I had any serious problems, but Sam still stayed by my side all the time. Thinking of my pale face falling into his arms and weakly calling him brother, Sam felt a pang of fear in his heart. As a result, his attitude towards Susan wasn't very good either. Susan looked incredulous. She finally realized that my status in their hearts had changed. Susan didn't participate in the piano competition after all. I knew that Susan would definitely not let this go. In order to compete for their favor, she would surely come up with other ways. Sure enough, in order to attract their attention, Susan started to become rebellious. She skipped classes, drank alcohol, and even associated with dubious people. Susan, what time is it? You're just coming back now, Mrs. Smith said with an unhappy expression. Mom, you still care about me, burp. Don't you have your real daughter now? Why are you still bothering with me? Susan said drunkenly. What are you talking nonsense? You and Linda are both my daughters. I've taken care of you for 18 years. Why can't I manage you? Mrs. Smith asked emotionally. No, the love you give me has decreased. You don't love me anymore. After saying that, Susan started crying. Woohoo, after all, she was the daughter who had been doted on for 18 years. Mrs. Smith coaxed her with a pained heart. How could Mom not love you? You'll always be my little princess. I stood on the stairs and watched this scene quietly. How ironic. Does Susan, who has enjoyed the original owner's life for 18 years, think that the love she has received is less? She has eaten and used the best things in the Smith family, but what about the original owner? As soon as the adoptive parents found out that the original owner was the wrong child, they threw her into the orphanage immediately. At a young age, the original owner was bullied in the orphanage but didn't dare to say anything and could only bear it alone in silence. I have no right to forgive them on behalf of the original owner. Seeing that Mrs. Smith was easily coaxed by Susan's few words, I brought a cup of hot water and offered it to Susan. Linda, what are you pretending for again? Susan, pretending to be drunk, suddenly knocked my hand away. The cup fell to the ground and shattered. And the hot water, as expected, scalded my hand. Linda, how are you? Mrs. Smith screamed in a panic. Mr. Smith and Sam came downstairs when they heard the sound. I'm okay, Mom. Susan didn't do it on purpose either, I said sensibly, but the pain made me unable to stop crying. I was sent to the hospital, except for Susan. Everyone else surrounded me and cared about me. Susan, look at what you've become now. This is the second time, Mr. Smith asked Susan with a serious expression. Dad, Mom, brother, don't you love me anymore? You said that I would always be your only little princess. Why, everything has changed since Linda came back. Susan shouted hysterically. Susan, calm down. Sam walked over to Susan and tried to persuade her. Susan hadn't actually drunk that much and was much more sober now. Dad, Mom, I was wrong. I just love you too much, Susan said in a low voice. Looking at Susan's cautious expression, they eventually forgave her. After this incident, Susan returned to her former self, being cute and lovely, going to and from school on time, and she didn't drink anymore. Even towards me, she started to treat me with a smiling face in front of others. Mr. and Mrs. Smith were very satisfied with the current peace in the family. Imitating my way, I rubbed my hands excitedly. Has it finally come to the high-level game? I'm not someone to be trifled with as a top-notch green tea girl. To be a qualified green tea girl, one must always maintain one's persona. At school, I always have a beaming smile for everyone. My classmates gradually got familiar with me, and I also made a lot of friends. After all, everyone likes someone who is good-looking, has a nice personality, and gets excellent grades. There is only one person who is an exception, Joey. I came out of the office during the break. Aren't you tired of pretending like this every day? I was startled when I suddenly heard Joey's voice. Student Jiang. What do you mean? I asked him with my signature smile. Don't smile like that. It's so ugly. My face froze. And I also put away the smile on my face, saying coldly, what on earth do you mean? Sure enough, it looks much more pleasing to the eye now. After Joey finished speaking, he left, leaving me standing there. Is this guy crazy or something? In the afternoon, it was a physical education class, and I was temporarily called to the fitness equipment room to get the equipment. As a result, there was no one in the empty fitness equipment room. I felt a little uneasy and decided to go back to the class first. Before I could go out, two tough-looking guys came into the fitness equipment room. One had dyed yellow hair, and the other had dyed green hair. "Are you Linda?" I didn't say anything and was ready to find the right moment to start fighting. Unexpectedly, a familiar male voice came from the corner. "I am." Looking for me, I turned my head and saw Joey walking beside me. He looked very annoyed as he had just been woken up. The guy with yellow hair looked at the guy with green hair. "Didn't they say it was a girl? How do we deal with a guy?" The guy with green hair also looked puzzled. "Did that little bitch Susan lie to us? I'm asking you a question. What do you want with me?" Joey had an unfriendly expression. "Who are you talking to? Whether it's a guy or a girl, let's beat him up first," the guy with green hair said angrily and then threw a punch. Joey reacted very quickly. He must have had some training. In less than 3 minutes, the two of them were lying on the ground, grimacing in pain. Joey clenched his teeth and looked at me. "You sure can stir up trouble, huh?" I said irritably. "It's not my fault that others don't like me. What does that have to do with me?" Joey laughed when he saw my pouting expression. "I didn't expect Susan to be so vicious. I can only blame myself for not being more on guard. Thinking about her pretending to be good recently, it turns out she's learned to play dirty." When Susan saw me coming back with Joey, her eyes were almost blazing with anger. I realized something and pushed Joey. "Does she like you? What does that have to do with me?" This Joey really has the ability to make me angry. However, he is also somewhat useful. I deliberately raised my voice so that Susan could hear and said in a sweet voice, "Brother Joey, thank you. Let me treat you to lunch, okay?" Joey stared at me with an expression as if I were an idiot. I secretly kicked him. Joey cooperated. "Okay, then let's see what Sister Linda will treat me to." It wasn't until Joey and I sat in the school cafeteria that Joey said unhappily, "Is this what you're treating me to?" I smiled sheepishly. The cafeteria has a balanced diet with both meat and vegetables. It's so good. Joey was so angry that he laughed. "Then don't expect me to cooperate with you in the future." Hey. How could I just treat you to this? "I'll treat you on the weekend." I quickly changed my words. After soothing Joey, I went home in a good mood. Susan came to me and said, "Linda, why are you trying to ruin my life? Why do you have to snatch everything from me, Dad, Mom, brother, and even the person I like? How can you be so vicious?" I was almost driven to laughter by her. "Is this the pot calling the kettle black? You know what you've done. I don't need to remind you, right? Who is the vicious one here?" I looked at her. "Why can't everything go back to the way it was?" Susan said as if talking to herself. I calmly replied, "Yeah, it would be great if everything could go back to the way it was. Don't you want to meet your biological parents?" When Susan heard this, she was like a hedgehog with its fur bristled. "What biological parents? I have only one set of parents. If you talk nonsense again, don't blame me for being rude." After saying that, Susan fled as if running away. Humph, what a coward. I was just trying to scare Susan, but I didn't expect Susan's biological father to actually come to the door. After school, I saw Susan struggling with a plain-looking and greasy man at the school gate. I didn't want to pay attention at first, but Susan pointed at me and shouted, "She's your daughter, not me." Then I realized that this was Susan's biological father. Susan was still shouting, "She's your daughter, go to her, go to her." The middle-aged man glanced at me and ignored me. Susan and the middle-aged man had similar facial features. No one would believe that there was no relationship between them. The middle-aged man showed his yellow teeth and grabbed Susan. "Daughter, I'm your real father. How can you not recognize me? Stop talking nonsense. Get out of here. Get out. If it weren't for me and your mother swapping you back then, could you be living such a good life now?" Hearing this, my heart trembled. It turned out that the mix-up between Susan and the original owner wasn't an accident, but was done deliberately. The middle-aged man continued, "Now it's time for you to repay the favor. Your brother wants to get married and build a house. Give me 1 million yuan." Susan was almost driven crazy with anger. "If you cause trouble again, I'll call the police." It wasn't until the school security guard came out that Susan got into the Smith family's car. When Susan saw me, she turned her head away guiltily. I can't blame Susan for being vicious. This family is rotten to the core. They actually did something like swapping children. How innocent was the original owner? She suffered so much because of these scumbags and eventually died of depression. Thinking of this, I firmly decided not to show any mercy to Susan. Now, the status of Susan and me in the family is completely the opposite of when I first came, facing Mrs. Smith's attentive care and Mr. Smith's personal guidance. I always act as an obedient daughter, making them like me. Even Sam often teases me. However, Susan has become moody and is really not likable. I thought that after meeting her biological father, Susan would be well behaved for a few days, but I didn't expect that she was brewing a big move. These days, the relationship between Joey and me has gradually changed from being at odds to a love-hate relationship. Maybe we are the same kind of people. We would occasionally make an appointment to do some exercises together and study for the competition. On the weekend, I was going to the library as I had an appointment with Joey. Susan, who was at home, kept staring at me until she saw me go out. She typed a few words on her phone. I felt a strong sense of alarm in my heart and sent a message to Joey, asking him to pick me up. I was still too optimistic. Across the road, I saw Joey and waved to him unexpectedly. Suddenly a van stopped in front of me. Two men got out and quickly tied me up and put me in the car. As soon as I got in the car, my hands were tied up and my eyes were covered with a black cloth until I was taken to a certain place. When I could see again, I noticed that this was a warehouse, and the kidnappers were none other than Susan's biological father and a young man who was in his 20s and called the middle-aged man Dad. He should be Susan's biological brother. Is this the real daughter of the Smith family? The young man asked. That's right. After sizing me up with his greasy eyes, Susan's father took a puff of his cigarette. I have to say, she's really better than that imposter. The imposter came up with a good idea. After the Smith family brings the money, we'll run away and take her with us. She can just be your wife. Hearing Susan's father's plan, my heart sank. Susan, I didn't expect you to be so ruthless. It seems that I can't rely on others and can only save myself. My hands were tied behind my back, while they weren't paying attention. I quietly pressed the alarm button on my smartwatch. Unexpectedly, the watch suddenly rang. Beep beep. The young man came over and saw it. He slapped me and cursed. Damn it, this bitch called the police. The burning pain on my face forced me to wake up. Never mind, let's take her to another place first. The young man dragged me outside. Before we reached the door was kicked open. Joey was holding a golf club in his hand and looked at me with concern. Are you okay? I shook my head. The young man pounced on him, but Joey kicked him down. Just as Joey was about to take action, the police and the Smith family also arrived. Seeing the red and swollen mark on my face, Sam was furious and wanted to take revenge, but was stopped by the police. When Susan heard that I had been rescued, she was restless, and those two weren't professional kidnappers. When interrogated by the police, they confessed everything, after learning that it was Susan's idea. The Smith family members were all silent, and when Mrs. Smith heard the kidnappers say the truth about deliberately swapping the children 18 years ago, she completely broke down. She had doted on the child of her enemy for 18 years, while her own daughter had been suffering. Mrs. Smith was surrounded by self-blame and regret, and Sam supported her beside her. Mr. Smith stared at Susan with a gloomy expression. After raising you for 18 years, what on earth have I raised? Susan shrank her neck and trembled. Mrs. Smith also looked disappointed. Susan, I don't want to say much, but how could you do such a thing? Susan wanted to explain but didn't know where to start. She couldn't help looking at Sam, but in Sam's eyes when he looked at her, there was only unfamiliarity. Susan rolled her eyes. Due to being too nervous, she fainted directly. Everyone sent Susan to the hospital, but the doctor didn't find any illness. However, after waking up, Susan became crazy. She grabbed Mrs. Smith's hand and wouldn't let go. The doctor said it might be caused by mental trauma. My parents and Sam also didn't expect this result. Looking at Susan's current appearance, there was still a trace of pity in their eyes. I watched Susan's performance coldly. Yes, Susan was pretending to be crazy, when no one was paying attention to her. The look in her eyes when she looked at me was full of hatred. Fine, since she wants to be crazy so much, I'll give her a hand. After Susan was brought home, the whole family took care of her carefully so as not to stimulate her, and Susan also enjoyed this kind of care. Everyone indulged her. She could do whatever she wanted by pretending to be sick, throwing away my school bag, pouring cold water on my bed, pulling Mrs. Smith to sleep with her, and monopolizing Sam and calling him brother. The whole family had a complicated attitude towards her. Seeing her like this, they couldn't say anything. But when it was just the two of us, Susan would become very sober. The others hadn't come back yet. Susan was watching anime in the living room. When she saw me come downstairs, Susan glared at me and continued watching. I slowly moved closer to her. So stupid, you can only play the role of a crazy person forever. Susan wasn't angry. Instead, she laughed. So what? A crazy person doesn't break the law when killing someone. You'd better be careful. I glanced at the scissors I had placed on the coffee table in advance, shook my head, and said to Susan, a fake is always a fake. No matter how much you pretend, you'll never be the princess they held in their hands again. Susan was stimulated. Shut up, shut up. I was about to continue when Susan picked up the scissors on the coffee table and quickly pounced on me. She was going to kill me. I blocked her with my hand and continued. Look at you, you're still so stupid. Susan exerted all her strength and pounced on me regardless. Just then, the others came back and happened to see this scene. Only then did Susan realize what she had done and quickly let go of her hand. The scissors fell to the ground with a snap. Mrs. Smith said wearily, forget it, just send her to a sanatorium. Susan immediately shouted, I'm not sick, Dad, Mom, Brother, I'm really not sick. Don't send me to the sanatorium. Sam hugged me and looked at Susan coldly. Susan was sent to the sanatorium, and her biological father and brother were also sentenced for kidnapping. After Susan left, everything in the Smith family got better. Mr. Smith still took me in and out of the company and taught me hand in hand. Mrs. Smith also took me to socialize everywhere and introduced me to everyone as her daughter. Sam also cared about me in every way and would nag at me every day. I, as a top-notch green tea girl, can be said to have successfully won them over. I sighed. Being invincible is so lonely. After the college entrance examination, Joey and I both got good grades. We decided to study abroad together. On the day we left, the whole family came to see us off. Mr. and Mrs. Smith looked reluctant, and Sam kept nagging. I looked at everything in front of me with a smile. If the original owner were still here, she would probably be happy too, right? Joey rubbed my head. Let's go. I waved to them and turned around to step into a new life with Joey. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, let's continue to see another similar story. When my husband and I went to the orphanage to adopt a child, I suddenly saw a row of bullet comments. Great, the female lead is finally going to have a real family, but the vicious supporting female character next to her also looks so pitiful. If she hadn't been unadopted, she wouldn't have developed that kind of personality later. Stop being so overly compassionate. Just thinking about how she's going to deal with my precious Riley in the future makes me feel heartbroken. I was taken aback and looked at the timid girl beside me whose eyes were full of longing. I bent down and said softly, would you like to come home with me too? Upon hearing my words, the girl suddenly looked up at me. A glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. And then she quickly lowered her head, clenching her hands tightly. The bullet comments in front of me flashed by at the speed of light. Oh my God, is this a joke? I've watched this drama more than a dozen times. Why has the plot suddenly changed? Why did the female lead's mother suddenly decide to adopt the vicious supporting female character? You know, just last night. The supporting female character tried to cut the female lead's clothes to make her look bad in front of the female lead's mother. I looked at the girl in surprise. She seemed quite timid, but I didn't expect she had her own little schemes. It's good, it shows that she's smart. And I definitely won't have to worry about her studies in the future. The director of the orphanage also didn't expect this development. Looking at Riley, who was about to cry, she asked with a bit of pity. Although Jenny is also nice, Riley is a more kind and lovely child. Are you really not considering Riley? Hearing the director's words, I keenly noticed a shadow in Jenny's eyes. I walked over and took her hand under her surprised gaze. Who said I'm only adopting one? I like both of them. Isn't that okay? After completing the formalities, my husband and I took Jenny and Riley home together. Our family's financial situation is not particularly good, but it's not bad either. The house is a large flat on the 3rd Ring Road with 4 rooms. Auntie, I'm afraid of the dark. Can I live in the room closer to you? Riley's small body only reached up to my waist. When she looked at me, her eyes were blinking, and my heart melted. Who wouldn't like such a cute girl? I was about to agree when my eyes caught sight of Jenny standing beside me without saying a word. She squinted at Riley, as if thinking about something. The bullet comments flashed by quickly. Just looking at that expression, I know the supporting female character is up to no good again. Last time she cut the clothes. The time before last she poured hot water. What is she going to do this time? I don't understand why the female lead's mother wants to adopt her. What if it affects Riley's living environment? Who knows if the supporting female character will make her own medicine and poison the female lead's family in the middle of the night. She's done it before in her previous life. My heart skipped a beat. Poisoning, making it herself. How good at chemistry must she be? My daughter is amazing. I looked at Jenny with full admiration, receiving my gaze. She quickly turned her head away. I reached out and touched her little head, because I wanted to ask for your opinions. I haven't decorated your rooms yet, so, would it be okay for you to sleep with Mom for now? Okay, I'll listen to you, Auntie. Riley agreed obediently, however. Jenny lowered her head and looked at the floor, with her 2 feet tangled together awkwardly. After a long while, she coldly squeezed out a word, "No." I asked patiently, "Why not?" Jenny raised her head, her eyes cold. "If you want to be with her, just say so. There's no need to bring me along. I don't care." Although she said that, Jenny's back was tense, just like a little hedgehog. It seemed that as long as I said anything unpleasant, she would quickly retort, "But Mom is scared at night." What? Obviously, she didn't expect me to say that. Jenny suddenly raised her head and looked at me strangely. "What are you afraid of?" I said matter-of-factly, "I'm afraid of the dark." "But you're not a child. A woman is a little girl until the day she dies. Have you heard that?" A trace of confusion appeared in Jenny's eyes. Only at this moment did she look like a child of her age. I patted her shoulder mysteriously. "See, you don't know a lot of things. You have to study hard at school in the future." Jenny's expression was like she had constipation. She seemed to want to refute me but couldn't find a reason. The smile on my face deepened. "So what if she's a vicious supporting female character?" "Humph, she's still firmly under my control." I turned on the TV. To prevent the 2 children from quarreling, I gave the tablet to Riley, one for each of them to ensure fairness. I asked my husband to teach the 2 children how to watch cartoons. And then I went to the kitchen to cook. When I was halfway through cooking, the bullet comments in front of me suddenly started flashing quickly again. I knew it. The vicious supporting female character is still the vicious supporting female character. She's starting to bully our Riley again. When she was silent just now, I felt that she was plotting something. How long has the female lead's mother been away? She's causing trouble again. My eyebrows twitched. I quickly put down the kitchen knife and went to the living room. Only then did I realize that a strange atmosphere filled the living room. My husband was holding Riley, who was crying and sobbing, and kept comforting her. Jenny stood aside alone, with her arms crossed, looking at them, her whole body tense, and on the floor lay a tablet with its screen smashed to pieces. I hugged Jenny. "What's wrong, baby? Can you tell Mom what happened?" Actually, the bullet comments had already told me the whole story. It said that Riley wanted to play with Jenny's tablet, but Jenny didn't want to give it to her. During the struggle, Jenny directly threw the tablet away, and Riley was also scared to tears. The little body in my arms was very stiff. She wriggled a few times and, finding that she couldn't break free, said coldly, "Why don't you ask her?" For some reason, my heart ached. "Mom will ask sister first, and then ask sister later," Jenny sneered. "She's not my sister." I noticed that Jenny seemed to be very repulsed by the word, sister. When she said this word, there was an uncontrollable look of disgust. "Then tell Mom what happened just now." "Okay." Jenny stared at me for a long time, as if confirming something, and then said awkwardly, "She wanted to grab my things. I didn't want to give them to her, and then I accidentally threw it away." Jenny pursed her lips and repeated again, "I did it accidentally, not on purpose." "I can pay you back," I said with a laugh. "Where do you get the money to pay me back?" Jenny said clearly, "I can pick up 50 empty bottles a day. Sometimes when I'm lucky, I can pick up 100, and I can earn 5 yuan. I can also copy homework very quickly. I can copy 10 copies a day, and each copy is 2 yuan, which is 20 yuan. On weekends, I go to help others wash dishes, but because I'm young, they deduct my money, and I can only earn 30 yuan a day. I can earn 185 yuan a week. Don't worry, I will definitely pay you back." I was silent. I suddenly felt that it wasn't such a good thing for a child to be so good at math. The bullet comments that had been flashing by quickly in front of me suddenly went blank. After a while, someone asked, "Was the supporting female character so miserable before?" I just checked the supporting female character's life story. She used to live with her stepmother. And her stepmother often didn't give her food. She could only pick up waste and copy homework to earn money. It wasn't until her stepmother died that she was thrown into the orphanage. Sigh, she's actually quite pitiful, but being pitiful isn't a reason for her to be so vicious later, is it? I closed my eyes, stopped looking at those bullet comments, and hugged her tightly. Mom doesn't need you to pay for anything. And I definitely don't need you to do these things to earn money. Mom adopted you so that you can grow up happily, okay? The tense body in my arms slowly relaxed. Her voice was barely audible, okay? After my mood calmed down, I let go of Jenny, then I squatted in front of Riley. Tell Mom, is what sister said the truth? Riley lowered her head, pouted, and said in a low voice, there's no cartoon I want to watch on TV. I secretly blamed myself. I still didn't think things through completely. I reached out and touched Riley's fluffy head. Mom will buy 2 more tablets, one for you and one for sister, but I have a request. I reached out to Jenny and pulled her over. Riley has to apologize to sister because it's not right for you to take sister's things without her permission. Riley seemed to understand a little. Her face turned red, and she said in a low voice, but that's not sister's thing. I said seriously, but the thing was in sister's hand, and sister had it temporarily. You can't take her things without permission. The same goes for sister, but this time you did something wrong, so you have to apologize to sister. If sister makes the same mistake, I will also ask sister to apologize to you. Riley's mouth turned down, and she seemed about to cry again. My husband couldn't stand it anymore. Looking at me, he wanted to say something, but I stopped him with a look. Before adopting the children, I had already made an agreement with my husband. Since I was going to sacrifice a small part of my career and most of my time for the children, I must have absolute say in their education. Seeing my husband's expression, Jenny obviously became nervous. She grabbed me with her fingers, as if she was very afraid that I would also be moved by Riley's tears. Are you kidding? Am I the kind of person who breaks my principles because of a child's tears? Seeing that I was unmoved, Riley finally wiped her tears and apologized to Jenny. I'm sorry, sister. I shouldn't have taken your things. Just as Jenny was about to speak, I said first, if you don't want to forgive her, you can choose not to forgive until you're willing to. Jenny originally looked a bit reluctant, but when she heard my words, she suddenly turned her head. Fine, I'll forgive you this time, but I won't next time. After saying that, I felt her grip on my hand tighten a little more, since we had only prepared daily necessities for Riley in advance. Jenny had to wear Riley's pajamas. Fortunately, the 2 of them were about the same size, and the pajamas fit Jenny fairly well. It was just that the little one with a cold face and not saying a word, wearing strawberry pajamas, the contrast was really a bit funny. Riley was quite happy and seemed to like the pink pajamas she was wearing very much. While my husband was taking Riley to wash up, I quietly said to Jenny, if you like other styles of pajamas, Mom will pick another one for you when I go to the mall tomorrow. Jenny was a bit surprised. She stared at my face and didn't say a word. Her expression changed several times, and finally it froze, as if she had made a certain decision. I touched my cheek and teased her. Is there a flower on Mom's face? She shook her head, hesitating to speak, until it was time to go to bed at night. After I turned off the lights and just lay back in the bed, a small figure suddenly climbed onto me, in the dark. Jenny's muffled voice came, I will protect you. It took me a while to realize that she was talking about the thing that I was afraid of, the dark. When I got up in the morning, as expected, my legs and arms were sore from being pressed on. My husband put the breakfast on the table and made fun of me, asking if I had been fooling around with the 2 children all night. I looked at Jenny and smiled. Indeed, we fought against monsters. If it weren't for someone protecting me, I think I would have been in big trouble. Jenny turned her head to avoid my gaze, but her ears turned red quietly. In the afternoon, I took the 2 children to the mall to buy daily necessities. On the way, I also communicated with the 2 little ones about their favorite decoration styles. As expected, Riley liked a beautiful princess room, while Jenny liked a simple style. Her only request was to have a large bookcase. As for the choice of the room, adhering to the principle of fairness and justice, of course, we drew lots. In the end, Jenny drew the room opposite mine, and Riley's room was next to Jenny's. The 2 of them shared a balcony. After the house was decorated, the 2 children were so used to sleeping with me that it wasn't until half a year later that they started sleeping in their own rooms. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed, and the two children went to junior high school one after another. During this period, Jenny and Riley got along fairly well. Although there were occasional friction, it quickly returned to normal. The only problem was that Jenny still didn't seem to like Riley very much and didn't want to have contact with her. My husband privately talked to me about this matter, asking what to do. The two sisters were like strangers at home. Even the shared balcony was used half by each of them. One side had potted plants and a reclining chair, and the other side had toys and a small bench. Occasionally, Riley would take the initiative to call Jenny sister, while Jenny wouldn't call her unless necessary, and if she did, she would only call her by her name, although I comforted my husband that it was okay, after failing to mediate their relationship several times. I even went back to the director of the orphanage to find out the situation. That's when I learned that in the orphanage, other children and even the caregivers liked Riley, and no one liked Jenny with her strange personality. Even when Jenny and Riley had conflicts, they would persuade Jenny to give in to Riley just because Jenny was older than Riley. No wonder Jenny disliked Riley so much. Thinking of this, I felt a bit of a headache. But before I could continue thinking about the next mediation plan, the bullet comments that had been flashing in front of me for 5 years once again caught my attention. Great, the male lead is coming, and Riley will finally have someone to protect her. I declare that the plot has officially entered the main storyline. It's my favorite love triangle. Every day, seeing this vicious supporting female character bullying our Riley, I feel like I can't reach into the screen to slap her. Now, it's great. As soon as the male lead comes, the supporting female character will fall madly in love with the male lead, and then we can watch the male lead give the supporting female character a good beating. Supporting female character, male lead, love triangle. I was so shocked by the bullet comments that it took me a long time to come to my senses. My two precious daughters are only in junior high school. What kind of joke is this? It was Wednesday, and the first-year junior high school classes wouldn't end until 8 p.m. Since our home was very close to the school, only a 10-minute walk away, I usually didn't go to pick them up specifically, but to understand the situation, I went to the school gate in advance and waited there after school that day. I wanted to see what kind of pig dared to hit on our little tender seedlings. As soon as the school bell rang, I quickly hid behind a small pancake cart. A large group of junior high school students rushed out of the school gate. The first person I saw was Jenny, because she developed quickly. At the age of 13, she was already 165 meters tall. She was tall and slender, standing out prominently in the crowd. As soon as she got out of the school gate, she took out a pair of wired earphones from her pocket, put them on, and then walked straight home with her hands in her pockets, knowing that the relationship between the two sisters wasn't good. I wasn't surprised that she didn't go home with Riley. The bullet comments in front of me scrolled quickly. Everyone was worried about Riley and the so-called male lead because of my unusual actions today. They were afraid that I would break up the lovers if I caught them in puppy love. According to the hints from the bullet comments, I soon saw Riley's figure. Riley had 2 braids, and she was pulling the strap of her school bag as she walked forward, with a tall boy following behind her. The bullet comments became excited, and everyone was sighing about how handsome the male lead was and how well matched he was with Riley. During this short walk, the boy named Kevin pulled Riley's braids 5 times, grabbed her school bag 3 times, and ran in front of her twice to forcibly attract her attention. The bullet comments went wild. Indeed, when you like someone, you just want to keep attracting their attention. Wow, the most beautiful height difference. They have such strong CP vibes. But I feel like our precious Riley isn't too happy about it. Oh, that's how little girls are. They're shy, but actually, they're probably over the moon inside. Looking at the crazy bullet comments, I almost fainted. I mean, so what if he's good looking? Can't they see that Riley is already looking extremely impatient? At this time, the two of them had reached a fork in the road not far from the school, seeing that Kevin was still following Riley, as if he was going to walk her home. I couldn't hold back anymore and was about to step forward when another slender figure emerged from the shadows at the corner. Stay away from her. Jenny took off her earphones, wrapped the cord neatly, and put them in her pocket. She looked at Kevin with the expression that the bullet comments always said was sinister and wanting to harm Riley. Kevin wasn't happy. Who are you? Riley was stunned. Obviously, she didn't expect Jenny to be there. Jenny ignored Kevin and said to Riley, "Come here." Riley didn't react. Jenny frowned. Just when I thought she had run out of patience and was about to turn and leave, unexpectedly, Jenny suddenly walked over and pulled Riley behind her. "Let's go." After saying that, she tightly held Riley's hand without giving her a chance to object and strode towards home. Riley's steps weren't as big, so she could only trot behind to keep up. Kevin instinctively wanted to chase after them. But then he heard Jenny say coldly, "If you follow us again, I'll go to the grade director and say that you're harassing female students." The mention of the grade director was very intimidating. Kevin stopped immediately. He shouted reluctantly from behind, "Hey, who are you anyway? I'm her sister." Kevin had nothing to say. His expression just looked a bit constipated. He muttered to himself, "I just wanted her to help me with my homework. Why does it seem like I'm some kind of bad guy?" As soon as he finished speaking, a Maybach slowly stopped beside him. The car window rolled down, and a woman with big wavy hair and bright red lips took off her sunglasses. "Dear son, you don't go home after school but chase after a little girl. Aren't you worried that she'll call the police and have you arrested?" "I didn't." Kevin got into the car angrily. Before the car window went up, I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but that beautiful woman seemed to look in my direction. When we got home, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. The two of them, who usually went straight to their respective rooms as soon as they got home, were both strangely staying in the living room this time, but they didn't talk. One was reading a book, and the other was playing with a phone, sitting on opposite ends of the sofa. When they saw me come back, they just greeted me and then fell silent again. I coughed. I really didn't know how to start the conversation, so I went to cut a fruit plate first. After bringing out the fruit plate and placing it on the coffee table, I sat between my two daughters. I coughed again, but still, no one spoke. However, both of them stood up and poured me a glass of hot water each. Taking a sip from each glass, I felt a warm feeling. It's great to have daughters. 2 daughters are like 2 warm quilts. After thinking for a while, I broke the silence. "Did anything interesting happen at school today that you'd like to share with Mom?" Still, no one said a word. Just as I was thinking about whether to talk to Riley alone, Riley spoke up in a small voice. "There's a new classmate. He's so annoying. He keeps teasing me and kicking my stool during class. I can't concentrate on my studies at all." Sure enough, it was just as I thought. Ignoring the bullet comments that started getting excited again, I asked softly, "Have you told the teacher?" The most important thing I always teach my 2 children is that if they feel uncomfortable at school, they shouldn't endure it. They should either tell the teacher or let the teacher call me. Even if they're under too much pressure, they can call me and come home to rest for an afternoon. Although the 2 children rarely do this, but I want to give them the right to come home at any time. This way, they will always have the confidence to know that they have support and a way out. Perhaps it's precisely because of this that the 2 children never complain to me about the heavy pressure of their studies. Riley nodded. "I told the homeroom teacher, but he said it's a sign that the new classmate likes me and told me not to be petty and to take care of the new classmate more." Riley lowered her head. Jenny beside her let out a cold snort. "He's a male teacher. Maybe he chased girls like this when he was young, so he doesn't think it's a big deal." I nodded in agreement. Riley hesitated. "But he seems to be doing this just to ask me questions." "Baby, no matter what the new classmate's motives are, as long as he makes you feel uncomfortable, you can firmly reject him. If he refuses to listen and the teacher doesn't care about it, you can borrow a phone from other teachers and call me." "Okay," Riley nodded. "Okay, I'll reject him firmly tomorrow." Also, "Baby, although you're still young, Mom wants to tell you, a truly healthy way of liking someone is to be good to her, help her, and attract others with your own strengths. It's absolutely impossible to hurt you to get your attention." Okay, I understand." Riley nodded seriously. "So he's an unhealthy person, and I should stay away from him." I let out a sigh of relief. Riley has a kind and soft-hearted personality. Sometimes she doesn't want to tell me when she's been wronged because she's afraid I'll worry. If it weren't for the bullet comments, I might never have known about this and wouldn't have intervened. If this went on, it would form a wrong view of love for Riley, making her think that it's okay for someone who likes her to bully her. No wonder the bullet comments sometimes said that in the future, Riley would be kicked out of the car in a rainstorm because of a misunderstanding. And she would be so heartbroken that she would choose to hide her pregnancy and go abroad. She would come back a few years later, clear up the misunderstanding with the male lead, get back together with him, have 2 children in 3 years, become a housewife, and live a happy life. I took a deep breath. Educating children is really a long, term and arduous task. At this moment, I was extremely grateful for the existence of the bullet comments. Although the values shown in the bullet comments were sometimes extremely wrong, but at this moment, after hearing what I said to Riley, the bullet comments seemed to change in some way. A week passed in a flash. I was sure that Riley had taken my words to heart, because since that night, many bullet comments showed resentment towards me. They said that after Riley clearly showed her disgust for Kevin's actions, Kevin stopped harassing her. Instead, he started asking around about Jenny every day. Wasn't the CP pairing all wrong now? But soon, the bullet comments found that Jenny was much more uncompromising than Riley. She directly went to the grade director and reported Kevin for sneaking into other classes and disrupting the class order, saying that his actions were unpardonable. She spoke with such righteousness, and since the school had been strictly cracking down on students sneaking into other classes recently, Kevin became the example to be punished and was given a public reprimand. Kevin finally settled down and started studying hard. Some bullet comments started complaining, saying that was the CP going to end before it even started to get sweet, but I felt relieved. Moreover, after that incident, I keenly noticed that the relationship between the two sisters seemed to have improved a lot, especially Riley. Although she didn't say it out loud, every time she came home and didn't see Jenny, she would ask where her sister was. Although this little episode didn't advance the relationship between Riley and Kevin, it did advance the relationship between Riley and Jenny. I was very pleased. By the way, I took Riley and Jenny to watch old-fashioned romantic dramas on the weekend. On the screen, the female lead gave up her job for a man and was willing to go to the place where the male lead was and squeeze into a small rented room to wash vegetables and cook for him. I asked them what conclusion they drew. Riley: "You can't sacrifice your career for illusory love. Besides, if she goes all the way to a foreign place like this, how worried her mother will be." Jenny was sharp-tongued. "Feeling sorry for men will bring bad luck for a lifetime." After saying that, she glanced at me. I could never do such a thing. After all, my mom is afraid of the dark at night. I coughed softly. Jenny had found out that I wasn't actually afraid of the dark 2 years ago. Don't say that. Not all men are unworthy of sympathy. After all, your dad and I have a good relationship. But in general, no matter when and where, stay away from people who make you worse. That's the truth. The two children nodded in unison. A few days later, I found a classic romantic movie for them to watch. In my opinion, love isn't a taboo topic. It's an instinctive choice for people and also the muse of art. This incident reminded me that the shaping of a correct view of love should start as early as possible. Nowadays, children generally mature early, and they are just at a stage of youthful restlessness. They especially need good guidance. Slowly, Jenny and Riley started discussing movie plots with me and thinking about what a truly healthy love is. The style of the bullet comments also gradually changed. There were fewer and fewer people shipping the CP. And more people started thinking and caring more about the growth of the two children themselves. Some people even called me the mom, saying that I had taught them a lot of things they didn't know before. I was very happy to know that I had helped others. However, before I could be happy for 2 months, the bullet comments told me that something else had happened. Kevin started changing his strategy. According to the bullet comments, after several setbacks, Kevin went to ask his father for advice, instead of criticizing his son. Kevin's father thought it was a great achievement and something to be proud of that his son could fall in love at such a young age, so he taught Kevin the secrets of how he had chased Kevin's mother back then. He told Kevin that girls all like sweet words, gifts, and flowers. With his father's advice, Kevin happily went to put it into practice. He kept showing concern for Riley, bought her breakfast and brown sugar water, and even offered to help her with her weak subjects in liberal arts. Riley's attitude towards Kevin improved a lot. There wouldn't have been a problem at this point because after my training these days, Riley had firmly decided not to fall in love before college. I also believed that she could keep her promise, but soon, I couldn't smile anymore. I don't know when it started, but Riley suddenly became very strange. As soon as she got home, she locked herself in her room and rarely came out except for meals. She would also giggle in her room from time to time. Sometimes when I called her out to eat fruit, she would come out with messy hair and a flushed face. When she was with the family, she would suddenly laugh for no apparent reason. It was as if she was in the throes of young love, coupled with the bullet comments saying that Riley's relationship with Kevin had been getting better and better these days. I was extremely alarmed. Could that boy Kevin really be so amazing that he could break through the defenses I had carefully set up for Riley? I wanted to look at the bullet comments to find out what was going on, but even the bullet comments didn't know. After getting along with the bullet comments for the past few years, I knew that their perspective wasn't all knowing. Everything depended on the arrangements of the behind the scenes operators. It wasn't much different from watching variety show live broadcasts. I was in a dilemma. I didn't want Riley to start having a puppy love so early. But I also didn't want to handle the situation poorly and leave Riley with psychological scars that would make her reject love in the future. After much thought, I decided to start with Jenny first, because Jenny and Riley were of the same age. Although Jenny was young, she was very assertive. Second, if I could take this opportunity to further improve the relationship between the two sisters, that would be even better. After hearing my euphemistic words, Jenny had a strange expression on her face. I don't think that's the reason. Although Kevin looks decent, Riley shouldn't like him. I was filled with worry. But you've seen your sister's recent behavior. I always feel that Riley is hiding something from me. Jenny sighed, went back to her room, and took out her phone. She swiped it a couple of times after unlocking it and then handed it to me. When I took it and looked, I found it was a chat record, and the nickname was Kevin. I scrolled through it casually, and the chat record between the two of them was so long that it seemed endless. Although most of the messages were sent by Kevin, the bullet comments suddenly became lively. I knew the supporting female character couldn't escape the fate of falling for the male lead. No way. Is the male lead really going to fall for the supporting female character? What about my CP? CP? All you think about is romance all day long. Don't you think this male lead doesn't deserve my two girls at all? I totally agree. I support the two girls staying single and being wonderful on their own, and my mom too. The three of them can be amazing alone. Seeing the bullet comments, my fingers trembled a little. In fact, a year ago, to prevent the so-called male and female leads from meeting, I suddenly changed my mind and switched the junior high schools for Riley and Jenny. When I later saw in the bullet comments that the male lead stayed at the junior high school in the original plot, I was really happy. But it turned out that I was too quick to be happy, because just a few months after the start of the school year, Kevin transferred here. This was completely an unexpected plot that wasn't in the original story. I suddenly felt dizzy. Was the so-called original plot so powerful that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't change it? Mom, what are you thinking about? Jenny's voice brought me back from my momentary trance. The one chatting with Kevin is indeed me, but I used Riley's name. What? I was completely confused. What did she mean by using Riley's name? Jenny avoided my gaze. Actually, it's nothing. I was afraid that Kevin would harass her, so I asked her to push Kevin to me. I replied to Kevin pretending to be her. Let me make it clear. I didn't offer to help her on my own. It's just that she kept looking so miserable in front of me every day. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered. I was taken aback. So that was what happened. Jenny coughed. And look, Mom, I only replied to him when he asked about homework. I ignored all his other messages. That's true. Now I was completely relieved. But since Riley has already rejected Kevin, why didn't she just block him? I asked in confusion. Hearing my words, Jenny's expression suddenly became serious and conflicted. I spoke as gently as possible. It's okay, sweetie. If you're not ready to talk about it, you don't have to. Mom believes in both of you. Jenny pursed her lips, as if she had made up her mind. Actually, Riley told me that although she should hate Kevin, she can't help being attracted to him for some reason. After sending Jenny back to her room to sleep, I sat on the bed with my knees hugged. I didn't know how to describe my feelings at the moment. Anger, sadness, confusion. But more than anything, I was afraid. Afraid that Riley would be hurt by Kevin in the future. Even more afraid that Jenny would end up with the kind of fate described in the bullet comments, the fate of kidnapping the female lead out of jealousy and eventually committing suicide. Why was the plot so irresistible? Riley had shed her timidity and was gradually becoming brave, and Jenny had long since become a kind, strong, and sensible girl. If their endings were still the same as before, what was the point of all my efforts at this moment? The bullet comments were as restless as I was. They were arguing fiercely, but this time, most people were as angry as I was. While only a small number still supported the male and female leads being together, countless people stood up for me. They said they would go to the official platform to jointly petition, demanding that our settings be changed and that we be given a free world. I originally watched this as an ordinary romance show, but now I increasingly feel that they are real people. They are real people. Since this story has spawned its own small world, we shouldn't treat them as fictional characters anymore. Yes, if cross-dimensional meeting services become available, I will definitely go to visit my mom and daughters, even if it's just a secret glance. Stop being so obsessed with romance in the bullet comments. The silent majority is here. This is my first bullet comment. For my mom, I happen to know the planner of this show. I'll go talk to her. My brother has already gone. He said that if it weren't for this show, his wife wouldn't have given birth to their child. Haha, I support mom, the two girls, and me living happily together, so I won't allow anyone to break up our family of 4. I support not allowing anyone to break up our family of 5. I support not allowing anyone to break up our family of 6. Looking at the scrolling bullet comments in front of me, I blinked, and tears suddenly fell. I suddenly didn't feel so bad anymore, because at this moment, in another world, there were so many people fighting for the freedom of me, Jenny, and Riley. Then what right did I have to give up? I went to meet Kevin's mother. She still had long hair, red lips, and was wearing a red dress. She was confident and flamboyant. I handed her the menu. Kevin's mom, see what you'd like to drink. Kevin's mom reached out to take it and even stuck out her tongue at me. Don't call me Kevin's mom, I'm Judy. I don't want to lose my name just because I had a child, I praised. It's a very nice name, good taste. Some people used to laugh at my name for being tacky. Judy smiled, tipped a cup of coffee, and then handed the menu to the waiter. Okay, tell me what you want. Is it about my son? I nodded and didn't beat around the bush. I directly told her everything that happened between Kevin, Riley, and Jenny at school. The more she listened, the more embarrassed Judy's face became. Finally, when she heard about the breakfast giving incident, she suddenly stood up and slammed the table. He must have learned this from his philandering father. I felt my heart jolt along with the table. Judy then realized I was still there and immediately sat down to apologize to me. Sorry, Sister Winnie, come to think of it, it's all my fault. I've been so busy competing with my soon-to-be ex-husband for the company secretly these past few years. The child was either taken care of by the nanny or his father. I didn't expect him to turn out like this. Don't worry, I'll discipline him strictly when I get home and make sure he stops harassing your two little darlings. I was shocked by the amount of information in Judy's words. What did she mean by not having time to take care of the child because of competing for the company? Judy pressed her temples. She gulped down the coffee brought by the waiter as if it were alcohol. Then she started telling me about her experiences over the years. It turned out that in the early days, Kevin's father also won Judy over by constantly giving gifts and sweet-talking her. They started from scratch and built the company, until just before Judy gave birth. She had a lot of say in the company, but because of Kevin's birth, Judy had to spend more time taking care of him. This led to Kevin's father gradually marginalizing Judy in the company. Later, Judy found out that he had cheated on her several times. However, Judy didn't confront Kevin's father immediately. Instead, she bided her time, collecting evidence of his misdeeds little by little, determined to take the company back. As a result, she neglected Kevin's upbringing. Maybe it was because the coffee was so intoxicating that day, or maybe it was because the light rain was so quiet. Judy told me a lot of things, and she also listened to a lot from me. The road of raising children wasn't smooth sailing. I had been so angry that I couldn't sleep at night, tossing and turning, and the next day, I still had to get up, prepare breakfast, and then go to work. Perhaps because we both played the same role in life, we were like old friends who had known each other for years, without any sense of unfamiliarity. It was as if we should have known each other long ago and become each other's kindred spirits. We kept refilling our coffee cups, and the more we talked, the more energetic we became. Judy repeatedly assured me that she would take over Kevin's education before she went home. The moon was full that day. When I got home, it was quiet, and all the lights were on. Just as I finished changing my shoes, I suddenly heard some noise coming from Riley's bedroom. I immediately became alert. I knocked on the door tentatively. Riley, are you home? There was no answer. I put one hand on the phone's power button and slowly pushed the door open with the other. It was pitch dark inside. Just as I was about to turn on the light, something suddenly bumped into my leg. I was so scared that I took a big step back. Suddenly, a cluster of lights slowly approached me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. The light from the candles illuminated Jenny and Riley's blushing faces. The two of them were holding a large strawberry cake together, and my husband was standing behind them, keeping the beat for them. Only then did I see that what was at my feet was a cute, fluffy calico kitten. The kitten had round eyes and a beautiful bow tied around its neck. It wasn't afraid of strangers at all and was still trying to jump onto me. I picked it up. What a cute kitten. Jenny raised her eyebrows and said, "This is the gift that your little sister hid in her room for half a month to prepare for you." All of a sudden, Riley's strange behavior during this period flashed through my mind. Could it be that Riley wasn't acting strange because of Kevin, but because of this kitten? A warm feeling welled up in my heart. It wasn't just because of being touched, but also because it was as if it was telling me that Riley's so-called forced feelings for Kevin weren't as strong as the emotions this kitten brought out in her. I blinked. "But I usually go into your room to clean for you. Honey, where did you hide the kitten then?" Riley said proudly. "Of course, I'd put it in sister's room." Jenny had a cleanliness fetish and always cleaned her own room. I teased. "You two have such a good relationship." Jenny snorted. "Who has a good relationship with her?" Although she said that, the corners of her mouth turned up. Riley hugged Jenny's arm with one hand. She shouted loudly, "Of course, sister and I are the best in the world." "Okay, enough of that. The best mom in the world. Make a wish." I handed the kitten to my husband, clasped my hands together, and made a wish seriously. "May all those who love me and whom I love be safe and sound, and free." The next day, when Riley came back, she told me that Kevin had apologized to her, saying that he didn't realize his previous behavior was harassment. She also said that Kevin would transfer back to his previous school soon. He wouldn't appear in front of Riley again until he was completely mature and sensible. Judy was such a special and wonderful person. With such a mother, Kevin shouldn't go astray again, I thought. I carefully studied the expression on Riley's face. Seeing only a look of relief and no signs of sadness, I finally let out a sigh of relief. And Jenny also came over and told me that the subtle feeling she had for Kevin had vanished, and she told me not to worry about them anymore. She also promised to protect her sister at school. At the same time, the bullet comments were cheering. They said that after large-scale resistance and the pressure exerted by some powerful viewers, the production team finally promised that they would no longer interfere with us and acknowledged that we were a free small world. After today, the show would officially end. That is to say, after today, I wouldn't be able to see these bullet comments anymore. A dense stream of bullet comments scrolled past me. Everyone was both cheering and blessing, as well as saying goodbye with tears. I suddenly reached out and pulled Riley and Jenny towards me, one on each side. Then I made a V sign towards the bullet comments. Although Riley and Jenny were confused, they followed suit. It was like the wrap-up of a film crew. I choked up as I delivered my closing remarks. Thank you, all of you who are watching, whether it's today or tomorrow. Please be happy, strive to be yourself, and shine brightly. Okay. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.